Battery Bill. Battery Bill. For cameras, computers, cars, or scooters. For trucks, boats, jet skis, remotes. Battery Bill. Battery Bill.
Hey everybody, it's time for another ESPN Fan Friday Talk Story session. And coming up this week for football, not only is it a home game to welcome the team back, but it's also recognition of one of the greatest teams the University of Hawaii football program has ever put on the field. Hard to believe it's been 30 years since that 1992 team that won the first WAC championship, played in the first Mainland Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, and beat Illinois. So joining us today, a member and a starter on the offensive line on that team, Kelly Mcgill joining us. Hey, Kelly, how's it going?
Good. Aloha, Dave. How you doing today?
Very good, very good. Now, we are, we've been talking because we've been planning together this reunion coming up over on Saturday, but I kind of wanted to catch up a little bit more with kind of you since your college days, because you played, I think, from 91 to 94. You graduated from UH. Kind of snapshot us your life for the past 30 years. What's happened with Kelly Mcgill?
Living the dream, man. First of all, before I get into that, and I want to make sure I take time, and you mentioned the reunion, really couldn't have manifested what we've come up with. You and Joyce and everybody on your team has embraced our vision, and if I don't get a chance to say thanks in the hectic couple of days, couldn't have done it without you. So it's going to be a product of both of our efforts. So thanks again for that.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. Well, I guess to answer your question, it's a series of these types of things. Finding something new to do, something to celebrate, whether it's a marriage or kids, a new business, it's life to me is fulfillment and contribution. And I think if you find those things, and I'm lucky I have, and it's we have this vision as kids. I think that when you set up in your marriage career, that's one component of life, and then you have your business career, and then it's retirement. That's when you're 16, 17, 18, and I guess you slowly realize that life is full, and the more you do, the more full you are, and that buffet line keeps getting bigger and better and longer, and you want to go back for seconds. So that's kind of filling in the day-to-day stuff. Certainly business is a priority for what I want to leave behind as a legacy for not just myself, but my family. So a lot of focus is on that, and supporting my wife and putting together reunions.
Together, which is a big project in and of itself, and we're definitely going to get to that. But you've been a successful entrepreneur really since your college days as you developed your career. So what kind of I've always been amazed by entrepreneurs, because that is such a high risk kind of engagement to do. We hear about a lot of successes, but there's a lot more failures. Just like with sports, right? There's a lot. You hear about the successes, a lot of failures, or a lot of trials and tribulations. What ventures have you gone into as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, I think everything you can think of, I've dabbled in. I've always made, and I'll go back to why I do what I do. I just get excited and stimulated with conversation with people and everybody's ideas. And I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, the first thing you have to figure out is what you're good at. And I figured out a long time ago, I'm really good at surrounding myself with people smarter than me. And also at the same time, I'm not a creative idea person, but I'll listen to somebody's idea and create a better one from that. So that was a trial and error. At first I tried to do everything on my own. A series of different businesses, whether it's my own landscaping business when I was 15 years old, to trying to run my first bar in Saigon, Vietnam. And fortunately by that time I had learned surround yourself with people smarter than yourself and people who can speak the language. But that counts. But really, I really love listening to people's ideas, and then sometimes it's like that. I'll go, wait a minute, did you think about it this way? Or I'll go home and I'll turn it in my head that night, and that's been the foundation of a lot of projects I've worked on. I don't know. I want to say obviously. I don't want to say obviously. But most people in Hawaii know for me for the restaurant Tiki's Grill and Bar, and we just celebrated our 20th anniversary this past Sunday. So that was one of the ones that worked and is working. I have, two college friends. I mean, those conversations you have late at night in Johnson Hall and Lokilani dorms, with a beverage with your college friends, and you're dreaming up plans. It happens. I've been in business with two of my great college buddies for 20 years. It's been a partnership that everybody said partnerships never work, let alone in the restaurant business. You're lucky if that works. And then I think the second partnership, and luckily I didn't have many failures on this, I got it right the first time, was my wife. I met someone who was wittier than me, smarter than me, stronger than me, but she had that creative shell that she wasn't quite knocking out. And so I said, hey, latch on to me, and I promise you bigger and better things. Little did she realize they were really her ideas in the first place. And so, and that's, I got a long list. The Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs loves me because I got about 10 LLCs, and they love me during tax time. So that was really the formula for me in that entrepreneurship, and I think the message is never discount a conversation in college you're having late at night in the dorms with your buddy, and surround yourself with people smarter than you. And I've been lucky in doing that.
I like that line you gave what was not your wife yet, but eventually you came together. I got to remember that one. Well, not that I need to. I'm happily married now, but good line to pass on to younger folks. So you touched on the fact that your days back in college. So obviously, this reunion coming up with the '92 team. It's interesting as we look at, like, for instance, this year's University of Hawaii football team. They're struggling. Anytime when you have a new coaching regime and when there's a lot of player changeover, it's going to be tough. And your head coach under those days, Bob Wagner, struggled when he took over in '87. And in fact, we think about the '92 team, what a success. But the year before, if I stand corrected, was a struggling year, was it not? I think 4-7, I believe, the year before in '92. So there is a process. There's a build that needs to happen a lot of times. You were part of that build up in a way for that '92 team to succeed. What are kind of your recollections in terms of not only like that year, but the build up to it?
Yeah, it's really funny. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's something we don't talk about a lot, at least in my story, how I ended up here. But, going specifically to Coach Wagner, I was a California kid. So when ESPN was the only sports channel, I would sneak and stay up late and watch the Hawaii games. And these would come on late at night and, 12, really late. And it's funny, I watched so many of the games over a couple of years. I really had no connection to Hawaii other than it was a place everybody wanted to be. But I saw Coach Wagner's development through those years of watching those games. And they would talk about the team. And, the first year, like you said, they would say it's a struggle. And then by year two, it's like, oh, he's really bringing this team together. He brought in some talent. In year three, oh, these guys love playing for him. And you could just, it's really weird that I had never thought of it until you just really brought it up, is that, wow, I watched his growth as a coach before I came to Hawaii. And that was one of the reasons why I came to Hawaii. I was able to recollect and go, you know what, I feel like I know these guys. I watched a reality show, and I know these guys. I went to a convention. I said, hey, I know you. I saw it. Now, for that '91 team, it's funny because I was, 90. I came in at 90, and '91 was my first year playing. I was a freshman, so I would go in on really pitter-patter time, but it was great. But that was actually the team that everybody thought would do what we did in '92, to tell you the truth, is the '91 team. And even so back as the 90 team when they had Sean Ching and Mitch Kiley, and I think Mitch and those guys were there in 91, but Tressler and Maeva and Derek Branch was coming in his own. Elam was, so I was there for that build up, and so coming in, I'm thinking I'm walking into this great program, and then there was 90 and 91. I was red shirting 90. That wasn't that good, and 91 was like, whoa, we had all this talent. What am I walking into here? And there was a lot of off the field stuff going on that I think it wasn't a shift in talent and a shift in coaching. And I got to be honest, I love my coaches. They were the best coaches. I played for my coach. I was one of those guys who played for my mom and my coach. I wanted their respect when I got off the field, and then my teammates. But we decided as players in 92. I remember that Ma'a Tanavasa called a team meeting. And there was so much going on. There was some NAACP stuff going on. There was a disconnect with locals and mainland kids, and it's all a byproduct of losing. Everybody shuffles into these corners and points fingers a little bit. And not that was huge, but there was a lot of outside stuff. And Ma pulled everybody together and said, you know what, look at the talent we have. This is your family for the next 6 months. We got to live in this house and, let's make this house. Look at the house we have at the end of the block. This could be a beautiful house and call it, and, right now we're not living, we're living like Rugrats, and that really pulled us together. And I think the theme, and this is no discredit to the coaches or anything, because they were wonderful. I think the theme of that season is that those players led that team. We really did, on and off the field. I mean, we started hanging out. I remember riding mopeds every weekend to Nale Cox's house in Kaneohe, and there'd be 6 of us: Ed Ripley, Kevin Hitzman, and we'd stop at people's houses in Waimanalo on the way. Then we'd go to the beach park, and then by the time we got to Nale's house in Kaneohe, we'd have his mom had food. We'd spend all night, and then the next day, Sunday, play basketball all day. Then somehow, I guess we made it back to school on Monday, but that became a familiar theme. Manly Williams, well, he was 91, but those types of guys, taking guys to Peter Pauly, taking them to Sandy's. Hey, get in the truck. We're all going. It didn't matter if you were from L.A. or from Kauai or from kids from Ohio. We all went to Sandy's and hung out, and that was pretty cool. That was the monumental shift, I think, between those 2 years where we played like champions because we acted like champions.
And it's interesting because when you read certain books by coaches, it seems like when you are iconic enough as a coach, you'll write a book, right? So you read some of these, and they have their behind the scenes elements, and that's kind of a common thing where a lot of them, no matter how great a coach they are, Mike Krzyzewski at Duke, one of the things I always remember him saying that he needed to have his players take ownership of the team. He needed to make sure there was at least 1 or 2 really good leaders on the team that the other players respected, because no matter how much they did as coaches, like you said, if that leader element is not part of the formula, that's a key ingredient to a successful team. And you just mentioned Ma'a Tanavasa, and I'm sure there are others who kind of, like you said, kept the team together, amongst yourselves in the locker room, that probably made the biggest difference in terms of performance.
Yeah. Well, it became that. It became everybody got a voice. And then, some guys just did it on the field. The Brian Addisons, who passed away recently, and the Andrew Toynas and Lou Randall. I can't remember one word I ever had a conversation with Lou Randall. There was a lot of head nods and what's up? Yeah, they called him Droopy for a reason. But on the field, that guy spoke volumes. And Walt Santiago and those guys. And I run a business. I have 170 employees. And what you got to do, and this goes back to your reference to coaches, is you got to sell them on, first of all, the organization. This is what we're going to, as coaches and administrators, this is what we're going to do, whether it's weight room or marketing. Nowadays, I'm saying nowadays, back then you knew what we had, which was nothing. So you got to sell them on that. As coaches, we create the opportunity. Now you got to buy in on some good managers, a general manager. And that's what we had. We had some bunch of managers that stepped up, and then those managers empowered the employees, and then the employees, the guys, the servers, the dishwashers, the bussers, are all prideful of what they do. And that translates into, the analogy here is restaurants to football teams. Everybody working together, and coaches definitely know that I've coached enough to where you're dependent on the players once you get on that field, and you know that as well.
Okay, I want to talk just before I forget, because sometimes I forget some of the little technical elements. One of the things, and I told you, what makes this your 92 team very special. I bought season tickets for UH football once, and it just happened to be that 92 team. That one time I bought it, and so I tell everyone who will listen to me, who most don't believe, well, there's a reason why they were so successful. I was in the stands, but I was always amazed. You were offensive lineman, right? And here was this offense, and that was part of the transition too. Coach Bob Wagner coming in, bringing in this new spread offense, a double slot, double wide offense that no one had seen before. Paul Johnson ran it, in Georgia Southern. He would eventually become the head coach at Navy. But up until then, this was really funky stuff to see it being played. And I remember locally, I don't know what you guys were hearing as players, but those first few, until he won, he had a good team that played in the Aloha Bowl. There was this, what the heck is this? The news media were kind of like, what is this? Never seen it before. As a lineman, I always wanted to ask someone, okay, so you're running the triple option a lot of times, right? And Michael Carter, your quarterback, one of the best at doing that, one of the best quarterbacks for the spread, great runner, could do those reads, but if you're doing a regular running play, it's either running, in this gap or targeted for this gap, or you're running to the right or running to the left. So as a lineman, I'm trying to figure in my head, okay, I know there's the play is designed to block in this sort of way. But on a triple option, even though it's maybe going to the right, there are three options upon which is happening behind you, right? So there's the dive, there's the QB keeping it, and there's the pitch around the end. So it almost seems like there could be three running plays at one time. And I'm thinking, if I'm a high school guy trying to learn how to be an offensive lineman in this offense, I freak out. Like, how do you do that? Like, are you just blocking a guy and just pushing him as far as you can? In layman's terms, how would you explain the basics of blocking in the spread for a triple option?
Best question ever. And I'm going to answer it backwards. My last year was 1994. Sometime in June 1995, I was taking a shower, and I was washing my hair, and I go, good God, I get it. And I got out of the shower, and I called Coach Johnson, and I go, Coach. And he goes, McGill, what's up? I go, I get it. And he goes, finally. And so let me backtrack, because there's no easy answer. I was recruited. I grew up in California. There was no option. The only team who ran the option was the Oklahoma Sooners, Jamal Holloway. And that wasn't even the one we ran. I was recruited or came on through Coach Johnson as a walk-on, a preferred walk-on as an outside linebacker. And you're asking me this question right now, 30 years later, how is an offensive lineman? So that's where I started. I was an outside linebacker from California that walked on. So the answer to your question, personally for me, is I was really just tasked to go out there and hit as many people as I could on the same play. And starting with the guy closest to me. I think I had a sense of the offense. I really didn't know. I had a long leash because I never went a play without hitting two guys. I'm telling you that right now. I was out there for blood, and it allowed me to keep playing. I put my team in some bad positions sometimes, but now that I'm older and I understand, it's windows and levels. Okay, I'm actually going to answer your question. And the fact that we had a white boy running back hit 1,500 yards, Travis Simpson, he's the first one to tell you that. Shows you that it's not a game where the best running backs win. It's the smartest guys who hit the right holes at the right time. And there's levels. And once you figured out as an O-lineman, exactly in contrast with what you just said, how long do I block this guy? And you realize it's a split second. either somebody will take over. You got to get up to the next level and get the next guy scraping over, because the backers and the safeties, let's just take the run, for example, the defensive lineman's going to choose their hole. They're not making decisions. They're told where to go. So depending on where they go, that's the first guy you're going to hit or let go. Now, based on where that guy's going, you know a linebacker is filling or scraping, and you got to know what the other guys are doing to know who might be there at that next level. If the center, I was right tackle, so if Lenny had done his job, center, the backside backer wouldn't have scraped over. Now I'm nobody there. I don't stop and go, hey, that was a good play. I got to keep going to the next level, because chances are there's a rack on, trying to get right behind me. So I got to go to the safety level. And if the wide receivers did his job, then maybe that safety's already cut to the ground. So a beautiful. There's several examples in '92 against Pitt, Colorado State, some UNLV. We just tore up some other teams where it's the most beautiful option play, where you just see it's like dominoes. You see the O-line open up and some guys go down. Then you see that next level backers, they just fall. And then you see at this, right when the running back's going to get tackled by three guys, boom, they're cut. They're top locked. And it's a beautiful thing to watch when it happens, and it works. So I hope that answered your question, but I didn't know all this at the time.
Wow. I mean, it just tells you what we see as a fan as, wow, that's a great play. The intricacies and even the amount of reads that you think Michael Carter, wow, he has to read, he has to read the end, he has to read the corner and the linebacker as he's making all these quick decisions within 1.3 seconds. You guys are making these same reads and decisions instantaneously within about 1.5 seconds on every play. And I mean, that just tells you about his team. Yeah.
They're moving, so you're like, okay, right. And so depending on where's the ball, and you got to talk to your guard, and you got to know, you're like, it was like, the pro style offenses are zone blocking, and pass off. We were essentially quarterbacks. And the test we took, the coaches wouldn't let you play, at least Coach Seawalk on the O-line. If you didn't, we took a test every morning before the game, and he would give you a play, and you had to tell him, based on the defense on that play, what every single offensive lineman, who would they be blocking, as well as maybe the A-backs, the guys, those slots right behind us. And, guys like John Beneri and Eddie K. Aloha, those guys that played those slots, those guys blocked just as good as some of these tight ends you see in college. They were taking on a defensive end that maybe I let go to go get a backer, and they're tasked with the 6'5", 275-pound guy. I get the 5'11", 220. So you're right. And then Carter would come out, and I think Mike was really the best at this. Honestly, it led to a lot of our success, especially his. Is he would come up and instantly read the defense. And this is the time he spent with Coach Johnson. They spent hours together. They really had a good bond, and Ivan Jasper as well. But he would come up and change the play right away. And now, so his mind, before the even play started, he's got to look at that defense and then see our lineup. And also he's looking at the best players on the field too. It's not necessarily just where they're lined up. If there's a backer or a safety having a great game, he might just switch it over. And then he's got to make those decisions you said once the ball's in his hand. So everybody was never really thought of it until you brought it up. But yeah, everybody, I guess, was a quarterback at one moment in time on that field.
And you know what? It's hard to believe it's been 30 years. I mean, since that great season, and
the best season. Sorry.
Did I say that? I agree. Because I think I've always said this. I think as far as the coaches in terms of accomplishments, I know June Jones gets a lot of accolades because it took him to the Super Bowl, which is a big accomplishment, no doubt. And he had great talent. But back when you think about relative to the time when there was no Hawaii Bowl, there was no, where you get 6 or 7 wins here in the Hawaii Bowl, you have to earn so Coach Wagner getting to the low ball, I thought was a big step in the development, which led to what would become the 92 team that will get a huger step to me is winning the WAC and then getting to the Holiday Bowl, because going to that mainland bowl still yet, aside from that Sugar Bowl, it would not come how many years later. How challenging it is to make those kinds of accomplishments. Going into that Holiday Bowl game itself, you had a great season. You won the WAC. You're getting all these accolades. And you're playing Illinois of the Big Ten, right? So I'm guessing going into the game, traveling out to San Diego, there was a lot of confidence in your group. I mean, put it this way: did you guys have this really feeling that you'd kick Illinois' ass all over the place?
We felt we could kick everybody's ass at any given time at that point. We were that confident. And we absolutely loved it. We thought it was so funny. You know, the Holiday Bowl was one of the big 8 bowls back then. It was played right around New Year's, the Cotton Bowl, all that stuff. And if anybody looks at the history of the Holiday Bowl, they were always the best games out of the bowl games. 45 to 44 games, 38 to 31 games. Great games. So, and it was the only one on TV that day, San Diego. Illinois had come off a season where they had beaten Michigan, beaten Ohio State, tied another one. They were 6-5, but their wins were all against ranked teams, and I think the number 1 or 2 team in the country at the time. It just wasn't enough to propel them into another game. And they came in with probably about 18 different wardrobes. And us being Hawaii, I remember we got our holiday full pack before we get on the airplane, and it was one sweatsuit, one yellow polo shirt, one gray shirt, and a hat. And so we had 8 days of those variations. And I think when Coach would say formal, we got a media thing. Dress formal, it meant sweatpants and the polo shirt, and informal meant sweatpants and the t-shirt. But Illinois was rocking up with suits and ties. They had what are those sweater vest guy cardigans, and just walking around with this air of we're better than you. Not only is our program better than you, we're better than you, our school. And we traveled with the UH band, and so we did all this stuff at SeaWorld and the Navy place and all that, and our band was always with us, so we made pretty good friends with the band. And we were so proud because the band knew one song, UH, and it was the Hawaii Five-O song. Ba, 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 ba. And everywhere we would, like SeaWorld, we would bump into there'd be groups of us, and we'd have some of the band with us, and we'd bump into Illinois, and they'd have 20 guys on just drums, and they would play this super long do-do-do-do-do in the horn section and everything. And then we'd all just look at the UH band and go, all right, boys, you know what to do. They, ba, 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 ba. And we just shoved it in their face. It was awesome. And so, yeah, I mean, we'd already knew we were going to kick everybody's. I'm just re-quoting you because you said it first, everybody's ass. We already knew that, but their air of high maka maka, kind of the way they were, that just added fuel to the absolute fire, the luau that was burning, man. And this was fun. We had fun. I mean, Mike Hart will be the first one to tell you we spent more time in Tijuana than we did San Diego that day. But that was after a hard day's practice, and we all knew we were just going to go out there and work these guys, and we did. Yeah, it was a beatdown. It really was.
Yep, enjoyed every minute of it, watching it on TV, and just what an awesome season. Now, this reunion and recognition of this 92 team coming up for this Saturday's game against Wyoming, you have really spearheaded this, putting this together, and there's a lot of guys coming, even some assistant coaches coming down.
Yeah, we're getting it, and please let it be known, that Demetrius Henderson, who was the first true freshman in, I think, UH history to start on a bowl team, played cornerback that year. Just a tremendous athlete, one of my really good friends. He's been nagging me for a year to get this going, and he really was pushing from where he lives in Las Vegas and Atlanta. He said he'll take care of the mainland guys. I got to get the locals and just get the ground stuff going. And before we talk about this event, which you're so much a part of, and everybody in the program, and that's exactly what this for. we wanted to use this opportunity to not only recognize the 30-year anniversary of the best team ever, bring the guys back together. Travis Sims is coming, hopefully Jason Elam. We got a bunch of local favorite guys, Stu Wins, Ma, and all them. But to give something back to this new program, to give back a show of support, because it's at a home game. Everybody's flying out, and demonstrate support. We're going to provide a gift. We're going to dedicate something to the program that kind of brings the Rainbows and the Warriors together. We call them the Bowyers. And so we've got something we've blessed and dedicated that we're going to present at the game. That's going to be really special. And it really, that's the focus, is to show, because we all said, wow, hiring Timmy was a great call. Get some local kids that were superstars. They went and got their feet wet and cut their teeth on the mainland in coaching, and bring them back here and let this be their first head coaching job. We're never going to pay what the big schools pay. And why not come back to your alma mater, make a pretty good, decent salary, because that is the name of the game. And, have the locals are all into it. That's support. Who wouldn't want to support these guys, Chris Browns and all these guys, and even Abe Aluminium, who not from Hawaii, but played in Hawaii. He worked for me every summer and spent coaching the past 10 years. So that was really us choosing this date, support the brotherhood. And the funny thing is about this date, or the circumstantial thing, Quinkydink, my daughter says, is that we're playing Wyoming. And Wyoming's actually the team that we beat to get into the Holiday Bowl in 1992.
I was there.
Well, that year, because of you, we got into that bowl game.
Yep, absolutely.
I think did we frame your season tickets yet? Have we?
No, it's in the works. I'm trying to get into that, and the call frame and all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
we want to dedicate that to the football office too.
Absolutely, yeah, monumental moments.
It was, man. How much did you pay for those back then?
I can't tell you.
Oh, where did you sit? And who was your favorite player to watch?
I always watched the offensive line.
Oh,
that.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. And I sat. My seats were actually kind of like right about the 10-yard line on your guys' side. So to me it was great. I got to see all the touchdowns of that end. I got to see the cop, knock down the guy who was trying to jump up to the goalpost when you guys beat Wyoming, and the WAC titles in hand, trying to do that thing, and this cop in full uniform with the hat just clocked him. So I don't know if he was a former linebacker before, but yeah, it was just great memories of that season, I tell you.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully we're tearing down the goalpost against Wyoming this Saturday. That'd be a big one. Just for the guys, after today, we need that win. But I think it would be a special cap to the weekend events if they were to beat Wyoming. We're putting a lot of support behind these guys, and and between you and me, I think they're getting better.
Yep.
That San Diego State game was big turning the corner for this team. Mm-hmm. And even today's effort, if you want to just look at the score, okay, it's better. We're doing better. Now there's those little things, sustaining momentum, 2 halves, those types of stuff. But I think home field next week will pay off. And all the guys who are flying in, we got 20 guys and families flying in. We got another 40 guys from here. We got golf. We got some restaurant stuff. We got some golf stuff. We got some bar stuff. You might see a lot of guys wearing sunglasses on Saturday at the reception. We're old now, man. I almost want to tell Joyce and Sodexo, just forget the Heineken, just have water already.
Well, and a first aid station somewhere nearby, just in case, right?
IVs.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I tell you what, Kelly, I know a lot of the fans are totally looking forward to this Saturday, but also seeing you guys again, because anytime we can remember back to that year, that 92 team and that whole season, it just makes, I think, everyone so much happier. So thank you for all the work you're doing. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday and the rest of the guys.
Hey, you know what, Dave? I love you more. I loved you before, but thanks for watching the O-line.
Absolutely.
You, my mom, and my coach are those types of people watch the O-line. The moms and the coach.
That's where it all happens. Hey, thanks, Kelly. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, brother. I'll see you on Saturday or Thursday. You're welcome to all the events.
Oh yeah. Thank you. All right.
I need your t-shirt size.
Oh yes, I will. Thank you.
Don't say it on air. They're going to judge you.
Oh yeah, I know. It's medium, fitted medium. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Okay, brother. Aloha.